Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today if it looks like we're somewhere different, it's because we're on my back porch. It's a gray, cool morning here in beautiful Tallahassee, Florida, and I have something that you are going to be interested in. If you've got a garage that's cold or a porch that's cold, and you're looking for something that uses a little electricity so you're not kicking those darn breakers like you do with the electric heaters, and you're afraid of just a regular space heater, you know, I've got something for you. Something by a company called Hcalory, or Hcalory, however you want to say it. It's called the Toolbox Diesel Heater. This thing is awesome. There's going to be a link down below with the description to it and a link to Amazon where you can pick one of these up. They're reasonably priced, and man, let me tell you, this darn thing is keeping me super duper duper hot. So let's unbox this rascal, put it together, and you can see how easy it is to put together because it is super easy. Here's what it looks like, and there's the vent right there. And I'm gonna tell you, that vent is blowing out some super hot air. This thing works really, really good. There's your spoiler. All right, well, before we get going, give the video a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, all that stuff. But this is gonna be your need if you have a shop that's cold or a garage that's cold or anything, a tent, a camper, whatever. All right, here we go. All right, so here it is, the Hcalory Toolbox Diesel Air Car Parking Heater. Now this thing is supposed to, and we're going to be testing it, be super functional for what I need it for. So let's open this thing up and check it out. But you can see it's for whatever you need, man. You can use this for a tent, an RV, inside of, you know, put the heating hose inside of a car if you're stranded somewhere. This thing's pretty cool. So let's open her up and check her out. Oh yeah, I'll be your Huckleberry. Oh yeah, here we go. I know what you're saying. Coach, that is a knife. All right, so let's open her up, see what we got. Look, it's a box inside of a box. Which, if you're like me, that's always good news. You want to see a little extra protection. Things get tossed around a lot in shipping, don't they? Step 2, baby, here we go. So you've got a box of parts. So let's pull the parts box out. Then you have the unit itself, which is called a toolbox because it's approximately the size of a toolbox. So there it is. It looks pretty darn cool, I'll tell you that. Only other thing in the box is the owner's manual. All right, let's get this thing out of this styrofoam. Well, I'm going to tell you, this thing looks pretty darn slick. I guarantee you that. Very nice.
Can't really go in the backyard and use it in the winter.
Coach Vic, are you going to use this thing?
In the wintertime in the backyard.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. This is a remote control thingy.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that.
So I can be in the house while you're out there using it and then turn it, make it really hot or make it cooler for you?
Parts, 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 baby. Is this going to be a complicated assembly? I would say no. So there's everything that was in the box. So let's see what we got to do here. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how this works. You've got your air induction. That's where the air is sucked into this thing. We'll open it up. You have a little ignition plug that'll heat up, and it'll take about 2 or 3 minutes for that to happen. And then it brings air into the combustion chamber. The diesel pump will pump the diesel in there, and it atomizes the gas, and it starts to burn it, and then it generates a lot of heat. The exhaust gases go out through another tube. The heat generated in the combustion chamber heats up an aluminum heat exchanger, and then that from the heat that's created from the aluminum is what the fan turns and blows out. So the heated air blown out is just warm, clean, dry air. Air comes in, your fuel is ignited, the exhaust from that engine goes out through a tube, and then you have a separate tube from a warming piece of aluminum that is a heat exchanger, and it just blows that heat right out on you. So let's get this thing put together, and we'll show you exactly how it works. This thing's pretty darn cool, though. I'm going to be using the heck out of this winter. Back here on this porch and out when I'm working in the yard, I do a lot of things outside, tailgating and hanging out with friends. This thing's going to be very, very helpful. All right, so you can see the fins on this. That's what's generating the heat that's blowing across there. This is your exhaust port. So the instructions sometimes on these things lack a little bit. It's not very complicated, but the first thing we have to do is take an exhaust hose hook it to this, and then this little guy here is going to hook to the end of that exhaust hose, and it's going to be done with a series of clamps. Let's do that now. It's a simple Phillips head screwdriver. You can use a nut driver, you can use a regular head. These clamps are pretty basic. So next thing is to mount the muffler, and it's going to be mounted with a clamp just like what we just used. This flexa tubing, you can move it anywhere. Understand, this gets hot. On this clamp, I'm not so much worried about the direction it's facing because this is a flexa tube. Because of this flexible hosing, I'm going to be moving this bad boy around a little bit. We're going to move this exhaust out of the way. Easy enough. Next is your actual heating tube. It looks like a lot like a dryer vent would look, and it expands and compresses, and it's flexible. So yeah, super easy. Take your clamp, put her on there, get this thing put around, just work it on, just like that. You can see I've got a bunch of dogs running around out here with me, don't I? Now, as opposed to having a big old giant hole, we need to have a vent for it. So we're going to take this vent, put it on there, and we're going to use this clamp to hold this vent on. Very simple. Again, we can move these hoses around any way we want. All right, you're going to have an intake pipe right here. Intake pipe, you'll see there's a couple little plastic pieces there that stick out. These intake pipes will mount right there. So let's get that screwed on first, and then that intake pipe's going to run right through that. Just get the screw started. Remember, it's just going into plastic, so you don't have to kill that one. And once you get them started, make sure it's sitting on these two little these little things that stick out, that the bracket will go around to hold it secure. Snug your screws up. Pretty simple again. Just another little hose clamp. Goes right on there. And this, again, expands. Goes right out through there. So this is threaded, but in order to seal it up nicely, I'm going to be using this clamp in addition to the threads. This is where the fuel is going to go in. So let's do that. All right, so as with anything, you have to decide where you're going to put this thing. Here is the things you have to really look out. And then we're going to get into actually using it. Now, I knew where I was going to put it because I know where I sit on my back porch, and it gets pretty darn cold out here, but I love sitting out here in the wintertime. And I was going to get one of those big stand-up propane heaters, but I think this is going to suit my needs a little better. So here's where I have mine. You can see there's the vent right there. It's going to blow right on me. This is the induction side. And I had the exhaust running right out that little dog door. Now you can do this a couple of ways, right? You can have the entire unit sitting outside and run a vent. You can run an extension vent. I've seen guys run these vents, up to like 8 or 9 feet. So, and it still sends plenty of hot air coming out of the other end of that vent, air that is in excess of 100 degrees. I'm going to turn this thing on. We're going to get a real idea of how loud it is. I wanted it in here because I want to hear that. I want to see. I just really want to test everything where I can get my hands right here on it. So here we go without further ado. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to plug this thing into the wall. So this is going to heat the coil up. Now this is one that you can hook to a battery. So if you're out in a more desolate area, you're on a four-wheeler or motorcycle, you can hook this thing to a battery and you're good to go. And this is just an extension if you need more wire for this. So you can see this is showing that we have everything we need. Okay, so here is your heat. You can see this is running through a cycle right here, and that's heating up that little element. What's going to happen, that exhaust is going to start getting hot, and the air is going to be drawn in from here, and it's going to send the exhaust out that little door over here, and then the heat is going to come out of this. Now feel the air already moving. Now if you're barely hearing anything, that's how quiet this is. Now, you can see the heat is set on 4. I can turn that up. We'll just turn it up to, we'll just go up to 10. We'll just run it on up there. And that's considered high heat. You can see it's drawing in plenty of cold air, and you can see that this is not lit up red. Now, this will be lit up red once it starts actually diffusing that, but you can see it's showing the red coming out here. It's just not hot yet. It hasn't had time to heat up. So let's look inside the case real quick, because we can do that while it's working, and you'll hear it. You can hear barely this thing moving, and you can hear things heating up. It's really, really quiet. But you can see the fuel running down the line. You can see we've got our diesel fuel in here. It's just normal diesel, which you buy right there at the gas station. And that's all there is to it. You put it right in the tank, and it does the work. So you can see now we have red bars here, and we have the air coming in, we have the air going out. So let's see what she feels like. It's starting to heat up. Is it hot enough to roast a marshmallow? I would say no. But is it warm enough to keep you warm on a cold winter night? Yes. It's starting to generate more heat. There are no fumes. This thing, I can hear the motor, but it's generating heat already. This thing's going to be awesome come wintertime, I can tell you. I don't know if you can hear the fan is picking up speed. I guarantee you the heat coming out of that is over 100 degrees. It's very, very hot air, very hot air. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to tell you on a cold winter night, if I'm sitting here, I won't be able to run this thing on 10, that's for sure. It's going to warm this back patio up quickly if it works this well. That's crazy. I would have never believed it. Back over at the panel, I'm going to turn it down to, I'm thinking 4. I mean, it's so dang hot, you just can't hardly stand to be by it. It's so hot. Which, if you're really wanting to get an area really heated, that's a great thing to do. Also, they have an app for your phone that you can use, so you can adjust all of this, you know, when you're away from it. All that unit, that piece on the end, you just click that. There's a zip tie holding it on there right now. I can clip that off. I can hold that unit, and right here I can turn it up and down. That air, even on 4, is so warm on my arm. This thing is amazingly powerful. You know, how hard does it blow? You know, that was the question. It's not going to blow your hair back, but it is going to move air, and you're going to feel it. Now, just like when you turn it on, when you turn it off, you can see that it is still blowing air through. What it does is it continues to blow air so that that massive heating coil, that big aluminum finned block that's in there, that the heat blows across that block to create the heat. It has the fan cooling that off before everything shuts down. Really, really nice. So you simply turn it on and off with this button here. I just pressed it to turn it off, and now it is going through its cool down procedure. And when it gets done, that will all black out and you're good to go. So if you're wanting something that's not going to trip your breaker, you know, we used to use the electric heaters that rotated back and forth, and they worked pretty well. This is going to heat the garage up. When I'm out there working, this will heat my entire garage. So I'm really excited about that. I do a lot of work out there in the wintertime, and I'm cold-natured. Anyone who's ever been around me knows that. Again, you're simply going to have to look at where you want the exhaust to come out, where you want the hot air to come in. That is the only thing, that's the only hurdle you're going to have in order to make sure you're safe. Carbon monoxide's a killer, so you don't want to play some silly game with it. All right, so how well does this thing work, and what are some of the cool features about it that might make you want to be able to get one? Well, before we get going with that, check below. There is going to be a coupon code and a link to get this exact device. One of the things about diesel heaters is that sometimes they take a while to heat up. This aluminum block heats up pretty fast, so I'm saying in 3 minutes, this thing's blowing out pretty dadgum hot air. And by 5 minutes, it's blistering hot. And that aluminum block, like you saw in the picture, that heats up, that thing is massively strong, big piece. Which, you know, for something that you need that's going to be heating up and cooling down a lot, you want it to be durable. You don't want to get something and then the darn thing just break. It's got a 6-liter fuel tank, so it carries a little more fuel, which means you can run it longer. They advertise up to 50 hours of runtime. Now, obviously, I'm not going to need 50 hours of consecutive runtime, but what that does mean is that I'm not filling that tank all the time. 50 hours will probably last me an entire week, maybe 2 weeks in the environment that I live in. The thing that does surprise me is how quiet it is. You know, I expected it to be louder. I was expecting more of a big motor sound. I didn't expect it to just be this quiet heating process with just a little fan motor. but it really is super quiet. You know, the little toolbox design with the handle on top, the darn thing's not very heavy, easy to carry around, which is going to make it great. A buddy of mine, we've been doing some work on his land. He's got electricity, but he has a little shop out there that doesn't have heat. We're going to be using this thing out there a lot. I'm helping him clear his land, so this thing's going to be real helpful out there. You can adjust the fan mode. You can have the fan motor blowing higher or lower, whatever you choose. And again, it's 1 to 10 on heat. You got plenty of selection on that sort of thing. You can set timers up so it'll turn on and off. So if I'm going to get out here at 6 in the morning every morning to drink my coffee, which is what I do, I can set that timer to start at 5:55. And by the time I get out here, there's nice hot air blowing right there on my chair when I sit down in it. Again, the little remote is awfully cool. I just turned it on with it and it's working great. I can adjust the speed, the heat, all that stuff. And with the app, you have even more flexibility with that. All right, so make sure to check down below for your discount code. I can't wait for freezing cold weather to use this thing because it is going to be amazing. So whether you're out camping and trying to heat the inside of a tent, whether you are in a camper, whether you are in a car, whether you're tailgating and you want to plug this thing in to an inverter, it is going to do the job for you. It sips on electricity and it sips on fuel, and I like that. Well, there you have it. The Hcalory, however you want to say it. I'm going to call it Hcalory because it's helping me burn off some unwanted pounds. So the Hcalory Toolbox diesel heater, is it the best? It is in my opinion. I love it. You're going to love it if you're trying to heat those kind of places. All right. Well, you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to have to turn this baby down because I'm starting to sweat a little bit. So, but until next time, I want you to do me a favor. Yes, you go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are most definitely doing it wrong. Man, this thing is toasty. I am digging.